truth, logic, common sense, that gut feeling, and yes, even a little psychoanalysis. As we are once again together, you and I, to discuss Chad and Lori Daybell. Well, here I is, and here you are. We're gonna go very far. Because guess what, folks? I'm gonna say it today. I'm a poet in many ways. Oh, I'm so clever, aren't I? Well, you know what, y'all? We've tried our very best to make sure that we have taken care of all aspects of this case. What does it always say? I say, the mosaic. We've got to try to fill in everything we can to do what? To get justice through understanding, whatever that means to you. And, I was looking in the portal, and, we've already seen all this news in the last week. Lori's been denied her little meeting with her king. Chad's chin, it ain't as big as it used to be. The fact of the matter is she's not going to get a meeting with Chad Daybell. And also, there is not going to be any sequestration of a jury from Judge Boyce. He ruled it was denied for the state. There isn't going to be any sequestration. So those are some of the legal news. As I was looking through it all to make sure I was caught up, I ran across two subpoena duces tecums. I know that sounds, I'm pronouncing it correctly because I actually went on YouTube to say, how do you say that? Old country girl like me, I look at this word and it's subpoena duces tecum. That's how it's pronounced. And what it is, it's Latin, first of all, and I don't speak Latin. I speak country girl. But it is an order from the court to attend and or produce relevant documents. And Archie is doing his due diligence. He's asked for some information, and we're going to go over that today. Of course, I'm going to lay a lot of research in your lap and let you come to your own conclusion. But he has filed these things, the court has actually, and it's to a Carrie Reed of the Lawrence Institute for Education, and also to Dave Channer of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Now, let me just be clear with you. It says on this order, it says attendance at this hearing can be prevented by providing the required documents to the law office of Archie within 7 days, business days, of the service of this subpoena. Now, this is a February 2nd hearing. And these two individuals that I speak of, they've got to come up with these documents and send them to Archie, or they got to show up for the hearing and produce these documents. What's interesting about it is why? Why would Archie want these records, okay? And if you'll just bear with me, we'll go through it a little bit. But I guess another question would be, why isn't John Pryor putting down the flask long enough to ask for these documents? But, Lori, she wants them. She's taken an active part. I'm not saying that she specifically requested these documents, but Archie has to have them for one or the other reason. And what is KJ saying when I say one or the other reasons why she would want these documents? Would it be for mitigation or would it be for the defense? You remember Archie's defense is that Lori didn't know before, Lori didn't know after, and Lori was not the principal. Lori didn't know shit, okay? That's what Archie is saying. So I thought, well, he has to do his due diligence. He's got to gather all this stuff together. This isn't a sealed subpoena. These things have to be ironed out. It's formality, I would assume. But with this case, anything can and everything has happened. So I want to go over this, and I guess the only way I can is through my own perspective. I don't want to mislead anybody. I want to be able to, just kind of give my view of it. And I hope that you will take the time to maybe do a little research on records, and how records are used, specifically when it comes to any religious organization. You know, there's this fine line with First Amendment rights and what a church of any religion would be willing to give up in terms of records of a member. That to me is a little more important than the one about J.J. Vallow's school records. Although, he's a victim and things need to be, I guess, shown in the court record about his educational life and everything. One has to ask, what's it for? I mean, is this mitigation where Archie's going to say, well, we've got all these records of J.J. Vallow through his life when he was in school and all his accomplishments and all his grades, and this proves Lori was an excellent mother and she made sure to enroll him. Oh, you damn right she enrolled him when she went to Idaho. She didn't have any damn at all intent to let him stay in school and all that other stuff. It just burns my biscuits. So let's go over this. To Carrie Reed of the Lawrence Institute for Education in Gilbert, Arizona. So these records are being requested from another jurisdiction. You know, Lori lived in Arizona with JJ and Tylee. And these records, they're not asking for Tylee's records. They're just asking for J.J. Vallow's records. So, I was like, why not ask for Tylee's as well? She went to school. Why isn't she, they're asking for her school records. And, a lot of things started to materialize in my mind in terms of theory and hypothesis. But we'll just see how it goes. You are hereby commanded to appear before Judge Stephen Boyce of the District Court of the 7th Judicial District at the courthouse in said county on February 2nd of 2023 as a witness in the above captioned proceedings. And this is Archie and this is Lori. And of course, I told you they don't have to be there if they provide within 7 business days the school records of J.J. Vallow. But, I thought, well, what does he need this for? Is this mitigation? Is this defense? What could he possibly be wanting? The school records of J.J. to show his development, show that he had been enrolled all this time, that he was doing really well. Y'all remember, I think it was a couple of years back, one of the teachers was talking about how she loved JJ and how he was such a bright light and how he did so well and he opened up and all of this and that. You got to wonder why Archie wants this. Is he wanting to get this information, the school records of JJ, because he wants to show Lori made sure he got an education? To show that she was a good mother and, for mitigation purposes? Or how about maybe in mitigation, his school records showing that Lori participated in any way of the activities, that maybe she was on the PTA or something like that. Or how about this, y'all? Just a little more fleshed out here. That she enrolled him when she moved to Idaho to show she had no knowledge of the murders. Huh? Think about that. That was something that I scratched my head about for a long time. I was like, why even move to another state where nobody knows him or anything else and enroll him if she had a premeditated plan to murder him? And of course, I guess I figured it out in my own mind. Maybe you have a different opinion. But she had to keep everything seamless. She had to keep the money rolling in. She didn't want to alert the governmental authorities that something was awry. And besides that, if you really look at it on the flip side, say she went to Idaho and never enrolled him and just waited for the day that she was going to murder him, that would prove premeditation. And again, I'm just for sake of argument, y'all. Why would she? Why would Lori enroll JJ in school if he was going to die? She turns around later in the month and she says, well, I'm taking him out because I'm going to homeschool him. It's just really kind of strange. You know, we all know she's guilty as hell, but it just seems like the plan was really to establish those benefits, and somehow, some way, she was going to, you know, put some normalcy into it when she first got to Idaho, and then later on, she was just going to basically tell everybody whatever she was going to say, whether it was a neighbor, JJ's gone to his grandparents, or the care.com, you know, we sent JJ to the grandparents, or the school system, he's being homeschooled. So, I mean, you just, at some point, you've got to ask that question, why she even put herself there. But, you know, she did enroll him, and he did have records of his time in school. He was in a special program, I'm assuming. He had special teachers. He probably did very well. And she ripped that all away from him, basically. So I don't know. I mean, the only defensive move Archie could get out of having these records is to say, my client didn't know before or after or was the principal. And look, she enrolled him. And, you know, obviously, we know that, you know, that's a line of defense. But, you know, the bottom line is that, you know, he had a life. He had friends in school. He was growing. He was learning. He was smart. He was all those things, and she took that away from him. And so I know these records will be given to Archibald. I just don't know how he is going to use those. If you have any idea at all, please put it in the comments. This is just another way for us, again, to fill in those blanks. But then we get to another subpoena, and that is to Dave Channer, Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. You are hereby commanded to appear before Judge Stephen Boyce at the District Court, blah, 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 on February 2nd of 2023. And this is what the documents that need to be provided, whether he sends them in 7 business days or he has to show up February 2nd and fight. Oh, these are private records, whatever. Any and all church records, including attendance records, temple records, disciplinary records, records of accomplishment, or any other records in your possession or control that may pertain to Lori Noreen Vallow, a.k.a. Lori Noreen Daybell, a.k.a. Lori Noreen Cox, a.k.a. Lori Noreen Ryan, with a date of birth of June 26 of 1973. So they're wanting all documentation of Lori's time in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And I thought, well, you know, it could be simple. You know, I mean, I'll tell you what's simple. Y'all want to know what's simple? My church records are in this book right here. This family Bible of mine, it has certificate of baptism. It has everything written down about my children's baptisms, birthdays, the family tree, church records, grandchildren, which I don't have yet, records of deaths. That's what I have. This is my records. If they were to subpoena me, I'd have to say, well, here you go. Here you go. But I'm obviously, y'all, I don't know about all these different religions. And so I thought, well, in order for us to decide why Archie wants these records from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, some questions come up in my mind. I'm like, okay, is this mitigation? Is this defense? She was a faithful member, maybe in mitigation. Or, mitigation meaning how she did all these things while she was in church to help in church activities. And maybe she had gotten some kind of, I don't know, awards or something. Like I said, I don't know all that's available in terms of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints records. I do know one thing for sure, that's the truth. Records are very important to that religion. And then I thought, well, how could Archie use her church records in a defensive manner? And I really got to thinking about it, and I thought, well, maybe he could show in his defense that she really wasn't fleeing or hiding, because she was going, when she got to Hawaii, which she did flee, but if she was really trying to hide, then they show her going into church in Hawaii, so she really wasn't. And then if you want to tack on that, which is unrelated, the fact that her and Chad both had been in contact with an attorney. But back to this church thing, she went from one church to another, and if she was trying to, I guess, hide or whatever, she wouldn't be going to church services. And I thought, I don't know what else. I mean, I don't know how Archie could use church records in defense of Lori at all. I mean, I just don't. Maybe you have some ideas. Will you please put them in the comments? And so I said, well, because I'm only looking at this from a mitigation or defensive standpoint on the records of J.J. Vallow's school or the church records of Lori, I thought, well, maybe I should just put the information out here, and then everyone else can make their own educated decision about what they think. I'm counting on you on your comments because, again, I don't know everything, and I sure don't want to go off into left field, if you know what I'm saying. So what kind of records, and this comes off the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints website, okay? So I just want to make that clear. What kind of records does the LDS Church keep on members? They may contain the individual's name, birth date, baptism, confirmation dates, along with the officiator's name, marriage and death dates, and sometimes priesthood ordination dates. The church keeps millions of records of activities. They keep records of the meetings that are held, local units that are created, missionaries that are called, church buildings that are constructed, temple ordinances performed, individuals baptized and confirmed, patriarchal blessings given, and it goes on to say a person who's a member, you can request a copy of your patriarchal blessing through the My Account and Ward menu on the church's website. Also, priesthood ordinations performed. You can request your priesthood line of authority by emailing blah, blah, blah. And then it says, and then it goes on to talk about you got to keep your own records. And of course, this little flag, kind of came up in my mind, and I thought about the things that they had gotten at Chad's residence, journals, things of that sort. And I don't really know. And, maybe I'm just, I don't know. Maybe all I'm saying is this. It would seem to me that if the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is saying keep your own records and then gives you guidelines to that, then it would seem that people would. Lori would keep them about herself. Chad would keep them. The principles of record keeping outlined in Scripture can also guide you in your individual life. And it states the different Scripture passages in the Book of Mormon, okay? You can organize yourself by making plans to select and care for important records such as personal journals, which is one thing they took from Chad's house, y'all. Certificates of ordinances and achievements, family photographs, stories about yourself and your family. And it goes on, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints goes on to say, manage your records by protecting them from danger, retaining them as long as you need them, and disposing of information that is not essential. You can preserve your personal and family records throughout the generations by storing them in safe places, accessing them with care, and sharing them with your family, such as through FamilySearch.org. And then he goes on to talk about the church itself. And obviously, y'all, Archie's asking specifically for Lori's records. He's not asking for the church to tell them anything other than about Lori. But it does. But in this on this website, it talks about retention of records that the church might have to give over in this subpoena. Okay, so keep this in mind. Policy and principles. Records should be kept only as long as they're needed for administrative, legal, and historical purposes. Records that are outdated or no longer needed should be destroyed in such a way that the information cannot be retrieved or reconstructed. Many countries have enacted data protection laws that regulate the processing of personal data, such as the information that is contained in membership records and other records that identify individuals. To determine the extent to which such laws govern local management of church records or to obtain direction in specific instances, leaders may contact the church data privacy officer at the following email address. Now let's stop. They've got a policy and principles in place in the whole religion of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And they do talk about, when it comes to you taking care of your own personal records, they say you can destroy them if they're not relevant or whatever or pertinent. Then they go on to say, in terms of staff members of the church, that they're telling you that that records can be destroyed in such a way that the information cannot be retrieved or reconstructed. And that sounds nefarious, but it's just anything, whether it's religion, whether it's a business, whether it's whatever it is, there is policies in place and everything where they tell you specifically how you're supposed to get rid of certain things. Now, it talks about membership records. And again, this is a directive from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints talking to people that keep the records, saying printed copies of membership records should be destroyed as soon as a member moves from that unit. Okay, and if anybody is the poster child for that, that would be Lori. She went from one ward. Remember, she went from Melanie Gibbons, Ulima's ward, over to Hawaii and stuff. So I am assuming, in terms of protocol, that anything that was gathered about Lori, they have the policy in place that when she left Arizona, because I don't think she got her next membership in Idaho. I think it went from Arizona and then she tried again in Hawaii. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. The bottom line is it says printed copies of membership records should be destroyed as soon as a member moves from the unit. I don't understand that, because then you don't have a trail of which wards or church, which places, the units, whatever you want to call it, that they were at. But 2, forms containing ordinance information should be kept for 1 year after the date of the ordinance, and then what? Destroyed. Now, I don't know what an ordinance is, okay? I just don't. I'm assuming it's something important. And as I look at my whole family Bible here, and I think about the information in it, I could not imagine destroying anything in there. But then again, that's just me. It's just interesting, is it not, that you've got a lot of talk about destroying information, destroying when a member moves, destroying it when after 1 year when they have an ordinance, whatever that is. Please put it in the comments if you want to help OKJ out. Then it talks about confidential records. And again, this is the policy of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. The presiding officer should destroy, here's the word destroy again, and this is on their website, should destroy copies of paper and electronic records relating to disciplinary action. Come on, folks. This is exactly what they're asking for. The court is asking for these things. And it says right here, the presiding officer should destroy copies of paper and electronic records relating to disciplinary action immediately after the ward receives what? An updated membership record or other notification of action on the membership record. If a disciplinary council has imposed formal probation, the presiding officer retains the records of the council until the matter is resolved. And I don't know if they had a written record of this bishop that was supposed to talk to Lori because Charles and Brandon and them got in touch with them. But according to policy, they have to destroy it. The stake or mission president should destroy, here we go again, y'all, destroy copies of records relating to the submission of an application to the first presidency immediately after a decision is made by the first presidency. And I don't think that applies to Lori, but it's just really kind of different. And I'm not saying it's nefarious. It's just, to me, when I look at my Bible again, with the information in it, the records that I have, even the old churches I've been to probably still have me on record, but they're not going to destroy those things. It's part of my spiritual history. I just honestly don't understand that. And then it talks about other records, financial reports, and, this has nothing to do with Lori. But financial records should be retained for at least 3 years plus the current year. However, local laws may require longer retention periods. MLS automatically removes records older than a country's retention period as part of the process of closing out the current fiscal year. And again, that's unrelated. I'm just trying to let y'all understand that whether it's a religious church, whether they have policies in place, and if you go back around to what I began talking about, y'all, the court is asking any and all church records, including attendance records, temple records, disciplinary records, records of accomplishment, or any other records in your possession or control that may pertain to the hussy, right? Well, this is disheartening because I don't know if it's disheartening for Archie, whether he's going to be like, well, I was going to use this to show that Lori was an outstanding member when she was, until she wasn't. Or is this just, I get it. I get it. That when it comes to a court of law, there are constitutional issues when it comes to a court of law wanting religious records of an individual. But again, if you do the study and you do the research on the legality of it all, there are exceptions. There is no blanket that they don't have to give the, Judge Boyce or Idaho or the court there. They don't have to give them nothing. That's not true. And again, this is about transparency. This isn't about privacy. If Archie wants to come out and tell everybody, hey, the reason I want these church records, and he might say that on February 2nd, he might say the reason I want them is because, I want to show that she was an active member and she was healthy and she was no different than anybody else. And of course, then you got John Pryor who could probably, he was trying to get at the nugget of that at Chad's preliminary hearing. He wanted to get into this whole religious aspect. And of course, y'all know as well as I do, the state of Idaho, Rob Wood, Lindsay Blake, and Rachel Smith, they put it in the indictment. There's no getting around it. I'm all for personal responsibility. That's the lens I see all this through. But they put it in the indictment that they espouse religious beliefs for the purpose of murder, and they've got to get out there and they've got to show that content in the trial somehow, some way. You can't get around it. And then obviously the historical records that have potential historical value should not be discarded, destroyed, or placed in the meeting house library. And, the bottom line is they do, and they do have a policy, and a lot of the things that Archie's going to ask for, he's not going to get. He might get the name and maybe the last ward she was in or something that effect. I can't myself prove that Lori is still not a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Logic says she's been taken out of there asked to leave. If Chad has, why wouldn't she? But it just seems to me that everything he's asking for, I mean, how can he spin this and say, okay, I got all this information, which he won't, but just for sake of argument, I got all this information on Lori when she was at church, and she was such a good person. Well, how can you go from being a good Mormon or member of the church there and then do everything that she did and believe the things she was believing? You know, I'm sure many of y'all have y'all's opinions about that. But under the direction of the presiding authority, children who are members, okay, this is from the church website. Under the direction of the presiding authority, children who are members of record should be baptized and confirmed on or as soon as their 8th birthday as reasonable. Well, Archie's not asking for the children's church records. Don't you find that interesting? But what's more interesting is, I mean, I don't know that it's any of my business, but the question is there a record of JJ and Tylee being baptized? It says there are children for whom church membership records already exist. Bishops give special attention, y'all, to 7-year-old children in the ward, ensuring that their parents, primary leaders and teachers, and home teachers help them prepare for baptism and confirmation, y'all. And it just breaks my heart, really, if you really think about it. I wish I had the answers to this. I don't know. I guess I could probably ask Kresha. Maybe she knows. At this point, I guess my point being that Archie's not asking for the children's records of this. He's asking for Lori's. And if Lori was baptized, if Lori was confirmed, which I'm assuming she was, it's just incredible to me that it's taken her to where she's at now. It says, and please forgive me, y'all, I don't know how to say this, Melchizedek priesthood. Don't laugh at me, all right? I don't know how to say it. Melchizedek. Okay, I said it right that time. Priesthood and Relief Society leaders also encourage parents to teach and prepare their children for these ordinances. When children reach 8, the bishop makes sure they have every opportunity to accept the gospel and baptized and confirmed. The clerk prints the baptism and confirmation form and ensures that the child's parent or legal guardian signs the form, authorizing the church to collect and process the child's personal information. The bishop or an assigned counselor interviews the child and also signs the form. At the time of the baptism and confirmation, the bishop or an assigned counselor completes the ordinance information and gives the form to the clerk for recording. After the clerk records the baptism and confirmation, he prepares a certificate. The bishop signs the certificate, and the bishop or the clerk gives it to the new member. So I'm not sure about JJ, but Tylee was 16, almost going on 17. And if Lori was in church all this time, then this process happened for her daughter, Tylee. And how in the hell can this woman know and sign a form saying her child has been baptized and is a member, and then turn around and say her damn daughter has a damn zombie in her and that she's dark? Give me a freaking break. It's just pathetic. And I think about it, and I think, these children deserve to grow up. And chances are they did have a record in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Is it still there? Do these members, do the ones that keep the records, do they know that Tylee and JJ's names are in their records somewhere? Do they want to make a statement? Do they want to say they're so sorry that the members of their church have been murdered? Do they not want to come out and talk about Lori and Chad and how utterly disgusting these two are? I understand. I absolutely understand that it's a raw emotion coming out of me right now. It's not logical. I understand the church is trying to protect itself from whatever. And it's obvious that their policy is not going to satisfy Archie's subpoena of the records. And honestly, y'all, first I thought, well, they're going to respond to this. They're going to respond and say, we're just not going to do it because we have a right for our religious freedom and stuff. And any other religious organization would probably at least think about doing that or absolutely do that. But you would think that this policy for records keeping would at least keep the minimum requirements, but it doesn't. If Lori leaves a ward, they destroy that record. And that along with whatever she was doing in there. Whether, will they have on record that she met with the bishop and said, I think I'm going to murder somebody? I mean, did he write that down? Did he say, well, Lori, she came in here and she said she wanted to murder somebody if I didn't give her a temple recommend? Y'all, come on. It just seems to me that Archie is doing his due diligence. He's got to be doing it for one or the other reason. Either for mitigation, and honestly, it's absolutely, I don't even want to say hilarious because this is not funny, but it is kind of strange that if it was mitigation on JJ's school record, that it would also have to include that she enrolled him in Idaho and then turned around and murdered his ass, pulled him out, and continued to get his benefits. So I don't know that it could be mitigation. And then on top of it all, if it was mitigation to make Lori look good, how in the hell does her membership in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints throughout her time hopping from one ward to the next? How about, do they have a record of her and Chad going into the temple and being sealed by Nephi or whoever the hell? They won't. And Archie's not going to be able to probably get much for mitigation. But for defense, I'll sum it up like this. He's going to bring up, you mark me on it, he's going to bring it up in his defense. He's going to say, if she knew that JJ was going to die, then why did she enroll him in school? Who would do that? Who would open him up to the teachers knowing him, the school system knowing him, the government knowing, everything else, if she was going to snuff him out? And that's a good argument, y'all. I'm not saying it's true. And then this whole issue, about her membership and everything, I honestly I just want to say this. Whatever's learned about it, in terms of the records kept at this church, I just don't see that it's going to give us any insight into how she could go all those years being in the church, doing all the things she, did, knowing her children needed to be baptized and all of that, and then go and do all of this. There's no doubt she did it all. And so anyway, I'm going to leave this in your lap, like I usually do. I just want to leave you with this, and I want you to really think about it. When it comes to this case and the records that Archie wants to have for Lori, whether it's the church records or JJ's school record, how is that going to help Lori? How is that going to help her in any way? And if you'll just put that in the comments, I would appreciate it. I love you all. I won't put it past Archie to use any of this information in any way that he can to make his hussy client look good. But, this spills over into Chad. Why hasn't John Pryor asked for Chad's church record? What? They don't want a jury to know that he got taken out of the church? They don't, Can anyone even get any records of Chad now that you look at the policy? Because when he left one ward, he went to another, and then, after a year, they destroy all that. And, again, I'm not saying it's nefarious. I'm just saying that records could shed light on things. And there are secret, or whatever you want to call it, things in that church that I'm not saying they should provide. What I am saying is that there are pertinent things that any juror would want to know about Chad's membership in that church, Lori's membership in that church. And by God, Archie should be asking for information other than school-related stuff on JJ to ask about Tylee and also their membership in the church. It's curtailed. And I guess we'll find out something after February 2nd. I don't know if that hearing will be... we'll be able to get the audio on it, whether that's a sealed hearing. It doesn't say it. It says February 2nd. And I'm assuming that both of these two people that were subpoenaed, they can send the documents and never even go to the hearing as long as they do it within 7 days. So anyway, I love you all, and I'll get back with you soon. Don't forget, I've got a special Valentine's Day for all of us. You know how much I love you. You know I'm going to do it to it. And keep on looking.